So I'm moving on from talking about young dudes, at least for one day, to discuss old dudes who could get traded. Kevin Love, not super old. I mean, he's in his early 30s, but Kevin did miss nearly the entire season for the Cavs. I think that would be the first thing that would scare teams off. It's just, is this guy going to be healthy? I mean, the contract that Cleveland gave him was a pretty tradable one, I would say. I mean, given that guys like Chris Middleton and Tobias Harris just got max contracts, and with the cap still going up, Kevin Love making between 28 to 31 million for quite a few years, it's not a disaster. It's going to require a certain type of team that has the contracts to make the stuff work, and I mean, it would have to be a win now type of a move where you already have the rest of the roster in place. So, we see those moves happen. Could also be a team that's just desperate for something wanting Kevin Love. But before we get into that, let's talk about why would the Cavaliers keep Kevin Love? Well, for one, it goes into the idea that I believe in, which is having an adult in the room, but also just someone who can really help out their young dudes for obvious reasons. Kevin Love, versatile offensive player. Post-ups, offensive rebounds, shooting, all those type of things. And, I kind of think Garland is going to prove to be better than Sexton. And just having at least one real NBA player to help him out, that's pretty good stuff. And if you want to be an optimist, which I know is tough for the Cavs, because without LeBron, they've been a disaster since 2003, whenever LeBron got drafted, basically. And probably before that, but I'm too lazy to look that up. But even with that said, if you wanted to be an optimist, you could say if Kevin Love can remain healthy, and Garland is really good, and maybe the fit with Garland and Sexton works, or if it doesn't, you can trade Sexton. Or potentially trade Garland, but again, I just think Garland's going to be better. After this season, the Cavaliers actually have cap space, and they don't really have anybody that they have to re-sign. So it's like, well, what if you're walking into 2 years from now with Garland, Kevin Love, Sexton, who fits next to Garland, or Sexton traded for someone, because, there's quite a few teams that would definitely take on Colin Sexton if he was available. And then some good free agent, or a couple good free agents. I understand that a few things would have to go right here, and I think it's unrealistic to expect all that to happen, but it's at least in the realm of possibility that Cleveland could maybe walk into the 2021 season with the real chances of being like a 45-win team. Again, I'm probably going a little too far with that one, but I guess the chances of it are higher than zero. Another thing to talk about is what can they actually expect back for Kevin Love? I mean, you look at the Mike Conley trade. Kevin Love not as good as Conley, and probably not as valuable to whoever might want to trade for him as Conley is to the Jazz. And Conley went for basically expiring as a young dude and at least one pick. It might have been two, I don't remember off the top of my head. So the Cavs would probably have to be okay with Kevin Love just not getting moved for a crazy amount of stuff. And there's a chance that he's just more valuable to them at that point. But I think this is all still worth talking about. So anyway, what teams could make a move for Kevin Love? I'll be honest, in the Eastern Conference, I don't think there's an obvious choice. I think teams have their front courts pretty established, or they're just too bad to give up anything, or you're like the Bucks and you're not going to rock the boat, or the Raptors, but I don't think they're looking at Kevin Love as the answer to whatever they're going to do over the next 5 years. And I don't think Miami would do it either. I think they finally got a roadmap for cap space, and I don't think they want Kevin Love after getting Jimmy. So yeah, there's no team in the East that really jumps out to me like that. We move on to the Western Conference, and I have a crazy one for you right off the jump. The Phoenix Suns. And yeah, I know, on defense, trust me. But offensively speaking, is Devin Booker, DeAndre, and Kevin Love, Ricky Rubio hopefully Cameron Johnson's good, or Mikal Bridges is good, Kelly Oubre, one of those guys. Like, is that not a team that could be one of the better to best offensive teams in the NBA? Potentially. And maybe Phoenix is so desperate for anything resembling actual basketball that they would entertain the idea of this one. And they could make the money work between Tyler Johnson's expiring and like Frank Kaminsky, and he sucks, and whoever else. I feel like if they were determined enough, they could get the exact penny they needed. And also, it might take something crazy for Phoenix to really get into the heat of the Western Conference. I mean, look, they're trying to hold on to Devin Booker, and yeah, he's under contract for 5 years, so they're not sweating right now. But the stuff happens faster than you think it is, you know? I mean, Anthony Davis, blah, 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 you get it. Other teams in the West. I mean, I think the Rockets always need to be included in these kinds of things. But of course, they just gave up a bunch of picks, and they'd have to trade Eric Gordon to make it work, and probably don't want to do that. Another tinfoil hat one for you, Kevin Love for Andrew Wiggins. With the idea of Cavs get a young dude, Wolves get an upgrade, and NBA Twitter loses its mind. If not that, you might be able to do some like Jeff Teague, Jake Layman thing, but I don't know if the money would get there. Okay, that's kind of all I have for obvious teams. I guess we can talk about like the maybes. Obviously Portland is like always in some Kevin Love or Blake Griffin thing or whatever. They'd be locked into CJ Dame and Kevin Love, which sounds kind of frightening. The only way to really make it work would be to put Whiteside in the deal, which I guess is possible if Whiteside just sucks, but the Blazers kind of have a way to get money here. I mean, depending on ways that they get away from salary and depending on how much the cap jumps, they could actually get a real free agent like in a year or two. And also, I just don't know if Kevin Love really like takes them from wherever you think they are right now and puts them into the title contender conversation. I just don't think it gets them there. I mean, plus, the Cavs would probably want Collins, and Blazers aren't going to give him up, so yeah, I don't know there. You know, looking back at the East, it's just no team's really there. Like, unless Charlotte just got really desperate, I just don't know. Like, the Wizards, they're not going to give up any picks. The Hawks are set. The Bulls are set. The Knicks, I mean, the Knicks are the Knicks. Who really knows? But, like, the Pistons already got Blake. Unless you want to do, like, a Drummond-Kevin Love swap, which that's not going to happen, right? I don't know. I definitely want to do a video on Drummond's situation because it's very interesting to me. So I don't know. I don't think there's an obvious trade for Kevin Love, but if he proves to still be this, like, 20-point dude who can stay healthy and grab rebounds, then I'm sure somebody is going to want him, but I don't know. I guess if I had to take a pick, can I just triple down on my crazy Phoenix Suns thing that won't happen? I guess.